Have you ever heard of the apocrypha? For much of my life, the only thing I knew about it was that there was a short section in the Doctrine and Covenants that referenced it. Today, I'd like to share with you a quick overview of the apocrypha, as well as one of my favorite stories from it. What the Doctrine and Covenants refers to as the apocrypha is a collection of 14 books that had traditionally been included by Christian churches as part of their scriptural canon. These books had an unusual history, though, in that they were part of the Septuagint, which is the Greek version of what we today call the Old Testament, but they were not part of the Hebrew version of the Old Testament. This difference is one of the reasons people have debated about whether or not the 14 books of the apocrypha are actually canonical or counting a scripture. Although they did not become part of the Jewish scriptures, for centuries most Christians included them in their Bibles. However, by the 1500s, there began to be discussion about whether these books were really scriptural. Over time, many Protestants, while reading the Apocrypha as edifying literature, rejected it as being canonical. At the same time, the Catholic and Eastern Orthodox churches retained them in their scriptures. In the King James Bible that Joseph Smith was using for his Bible translation, there was a separate section from the Old and New Testaments called the Apocrypha that included these 14 books. As part of his Bible translation, when Joseph got to this section, he asked the Lord if he should translate it. In response, Joseph received the following revelation. There are many things contained therein that are true, and it is mostly translated correctly. There are many things contained therein that are not true, which are interpolations by the hands of men. Verily I say unto you that it is not needful that the Apocrypha should be translated. Therefore whoso readeth it, let him understand. For the Spirit manifesteth truth, and whoso is enlightened by the Spirit shall obtain benefit therefrom. So it looks like that, although the Apocrypha contains some errors, and Joseph Smith was told not to translate it, it is mostly translated correctly, contains many things that are true, and if we're enlightened by the Spirit, we can obtain benefit from it. With that in mind, let me share one of my favorite stories from the Apocrypha. The setting is approximately 170 BC, when Greek officials were trying to enforce the living of Greek rather than Jewish customs in Jerusalem and its surrounding areas. I'll be reading from 2 Maccabees chapter 6, verses 18 through 31, and paraphrasing a little bit along the way. Eleazar, one of the scribes in a high position, a man now advanced in age and of noble presence, was being forced to open his mouth to eat swine's flesh. But he, welcoming death with honor rather than life with pollution, went up to the rack of his own accord, spitting out all the flesh, as all ought to do who have the courage to refuse things that it is not right to taste. Does this make sense? It was against the Jewish law to eat pork, but Eleazar was being threatened with death if he didn't do it. What would you do if you were in such a situation? Well, at this point, some of Eleazar's friends pulled him aside and they said, we've got an idea. Why don't you just bring some of your own meat, like chicken, and then instead of eating the pork, you can swap in the chicken. That way you won't break the law and you'll save your life. Well, Eleazar did not like this idea. He said, such pretense is not worthy of our time of life. For many of the young might suppose that Eleazar, in his 90th year, had gone over to an alien religion. And through my pretense, for the sake of living a brief moment longer, they would be led astray because of me, while I defile and disgrace my old age. Even if for the present I would avoid the punishment of mortals, yet whether I live or die, I will not escape the hands of the Almighty. Therefore, by bravely giving up my life now, I will show myself worthy of my old age and leave to the young a noble example of how to die a good death willingly and nobly for the revered and holy laws. When he had said this, he went at once to the rack. So in this way he died, leaving in his death an example of nobility and a memorial of courage, not only to the young, but to the great body of his nation. Eleazar's story inspires me, reminding me of Abinadi, Joseph Smith, and Jesus Christ, people who gave up their lives for what they knew was right. Although the Apocrypha isn't scripture, we can learn some important things from studying its pages. Give it a try and see what you find. To access an online copy of the Apocrypha and find some helpful study resources, click the link in the description.